when you have that soul connection and you're making that soulful love making with someone, it's such a beautiful connection.
Embodied Business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Embodied Business Show. I am super excited. I have a dear friend of mine, a client, an absolute magician on the show today, and we are here to debunk the myth of what Tantra actually is. Welcome, Dom DeVita, to the Embodied Business Show.
A pleasure to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on. Whenever we talk on this lens, magic happens.
Always.
Always. And we open like a lot of portals. So I really wanted to have this conversation with you because, you know, your work, and like I've personally experienced your work. Like I'm a big believer, and I put up a post about this the other day. You know, just because they're your client doesn't mean you can't appreciate their service as well. Like, and I've paid for your services because they're just epic.
Thank you.
But I really want to have the conversation because so many women, especially like I know for myself when I first started this journey, it's like it's almost like there's a fear around Tantra. We don't understand what it is. We don't really connect to the power and the force of what is really here. And so today I want to really open that right up. And I'd love to start with you by asking you this one question. What is Tantra outside of what everyone believes that it is?
Love this. And in our world, so many people have heard different things about Tantra, or, you know, the fear of the unknown because they don't know what it is. They put their fears upon it. And some people will use Tantra as a way, kind of not for the best intentions.
Yeah.
And manipulate people with that word.
Yeah.
And dirty up like the ancient wisdom and the magic that's truly Tantra. And the byproduct of Tantra is better lovemaking. But that's not even the aim or the goal of Tantra. Tantra is about transformation, enlightenment, opening up all your chakras and your energy centers so you can be fully lit up and turned on and increase your magnetism and get to higher states of consciousness. If you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at the very top is self-actualization. That's what Tantra helps you with. But a lot of people miss it because they just think it has to do with things in the bedroom and that piece.
Yeah.
Or that you need a lover to begin. But it's really a tool for yourself. And when you become your own best lover and unlock what's blocking you in life and in love, then you can attract better relationships. So many people will be like, oh, I need to have a partner first. I'm like, no, it starts with you. And that's another misconception.
Yeah. I love that so much because like, you know, even one of the sessions that we did, we sat there and we played with this manifestation thing that you had, and like what would I call it? Exercise that you did with us, like me and my partner. And you're like, get specific, play with it, go really deeply there. And literally 2 weeks later, it opened up for us and we got exactly what we'd called in that session. For everyone who's watching this and wondering what I'm talking about is we literally sat there and I sounded out, spelt out, whatever you want to call it, the exact design and desire that I wanted in my next house. And I literally seen it online like 2 weeks later and got it straight off the bat without even seeing it. And I'm in a different country. So it was crazy what happened with this work. But none of what we did was sexual.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
I did set you up to enjoy some things afterwards.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Yes.
We definitely did. But the actual session with you in that moment, it was deeply about connection. And this is what I want to talk into because, you know, I remember when Urbain and I first started like deepening our intimacy and really playing with like, what does intimacy look like for us, right? Instantly, my brain was like, I've got to do chains and whips and fucking all the things and like really go and explore sexuality as far as I possibly could. But what I didn't realize was that wasn't even necessary once we slowed down and actually connected with each other. And so I'd love for you to like talk into like what are like the biggest misconceptions that you see or that you speak with women and with men around what they think they're walking into when they come into your world.
Just like me, whenever I was first interested in Tantra, it was a decade before my first experience with it.
Right.
And I had heard things about Sting making love to his wife for 5 hours at a time. And I'm a Scorpio born on Halloween. And I was like, sign me up. Yes, I want to know this. And then I got a book from Barnes and Nobles about Tantra. And I put it on my shelf thinking, when I find a lover, I will, we could do this and practice this together. Someone that's aligned with this and also interested. And I shelved the book. And if I would have opened the book, I would have seen there's a lot of solo practices as well.
Yeah.
And so initially my first buy-in though was from my ego self.
Yeah.
And me operating in the world more like Samantha on Sex and the City.
Yeah.
Using my sensuality really to stay in power. And I was kind of in my unhealthy masculine energy.
Yeah.
Right. And not really having that deep intimacy. So a lot of times when people start to work with me, they're like, oh, great, I'm going to be better in bed. And they want those tools for, sometimes women are not able to climax with their partners through penetrative connection. Men helping them naturally overcome ED and PE. So they'll want those things or to have stamina for hours. But then when they start doing the work with me and we start unlocking the things that are blocking them that they don't know in their subconscious mind, because as you know, our subconscious mind is running the show.
Yeah.
And then they start getting better in life. And some people have worked with coaches in all different areas of like business and health and other areas of their life. And they'll say, oh my gosh, had no idea that this kind of final frontier that I entered was the one thing that was going to unlock everything. Because how you show up in the bedroom is how you show up in the boardroom, is how you show up in the Zoom room.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is we think, I want to speak into what you shared too, thinking you have to do all these things because we don't get the right education about what intimacy can be for us.
Yeah.
Then we look at adult videos to figure it out. And in adult videos, we see all these extreme things and the performative aspects, and we sensationalize it. And then we start getting in our heads and we're like, okay, when I'm with my lover, I need to look like this and be like this. And we're kind of like performing, but we're not connecting.
Yeah.
And having that deeper intimacy. And so it's so wild. But if you just slow down and drop the masks, drop the need to be performative, and really, if you're able to connect to your lover's soul and make love to their soul and have that deeper connection, everything changes. But Tantra helps you to start having a deep connection within yourself.
Yeah.
Because you can only meet your lover as deeply as you met yourself. You can only meet someone's emotions as deeply as you met your own. And so what Tantra helps you do is have this really beautiful relationship with yourself and have more love for yourself, more intimacy and connection. And then you can connect more deeply with someone else.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to speak into that because one of the common themes that, the women that I work with high level, entrepreneurs who are doing the thing,
right? You
being one of them.
Thank you.
But I also see one of the questions that come up a lot in my space and is, I'm sick of fucking looking at, I'm sick of it being me first, essentially. I'm sick of having to look within myself to connect it out there. And what I'm just sort of piecing together the pieces right now is when you said about the unhealthy masculine, it's we use our sexuality to get what we want without connecting to ourselves. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because what I think this is actually and I'm just going to have a little riff for a moment, but I think what is happening, and I'd love your take on this, is we've been told how to feminine. We've been told how, what it is, and from the textbook standard of you should submit, you should do this, you should do that. And it's left women feeling so disconnected from what they actually desire and how to be with themselves. And that's just my personal opinion. But I'd love to hear from you, when you hear things like this, from women of oh, I'm sick of having to look within myself and playing that game, what do you hear in that?
That they've never really truly discovered who they are within themselves, and they're afraid to see that.
Yeah.
Because what we've been told for a long time, a lot of the world has been, especially here in the United States, it's all been about the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And we learn from a very young age that in relationship, we need to find the one. the partner. And we hear these Disney stories of you find your prince, you live happily ever after.
Yeah.
And so then we're looking at that. And I was even talking to my older daughter about this yesterday. I said, I think that we've been sold this bill of goods, and we even think I can't start my journey to success or have my happily ever after till I do this one part in the game of finding my person.
Yeah.
And if I haven't found my person, there's something missing within me.
Yeah.
So then we focus so much, we forget ourselves, and we're thinking what we've been told by media, what we've been told through fairy tales of like catering to men to be chosen, but we forget to choose ourselves first.
Yeah.
So if we're neglecting ourselves, if we reject ourselves, if we don't know how to be our own best lover, if we deny ourselves self-pleasure and pleasure is only something we do for the other and not for ourselves, we don't have healthy self-love, all of those things, we're not going to be able to find that in relationship. And we're not going to have our no one is here to save you.
Yeah.
You need to create your happily ever after on your own and know that when you're in alignment, that person will show up for you.
Yeah.
But it's about being true to yourself. But all these stories, and I think the Disney stories that we would see, really were to have young girls learn from an early age, when our subconscious mind is the most programmed, that you need to focus on the man, that the man will rescue you. A lot of times you would see, let's see Snow White. She's not even, she's appears as if she's not alive.
Yeah.
And he kisses her. I mean, one, that's not getting consent.
Wow, I never even thought about that. Yeah.
Not getting consent. And then, he's the hero, and she runs off with him.
He creates her aliveness, essentially.
Exactly. And then in Snow White, also you see, or in Cinderella, you will see her fighting with her stepsisters, and this creates like a sister wound where we don't trust other women, like the evil stepmother. Like there's all of these things pitting women against one another, because if we are against one another and we're not women helping other women level up, and we feel everyone is our competition, then we're minimized as women. But as men, you'll see the good old boys club, that they have the clubs that they're in, or going to the golf course, they're networking, they're helping one another. And as women, we haven't been taught to do that. We've actually seen women as our competition. And I believe that before there were cell phones and all these things, like when women would get together and share their magic, one, if you're a housewife and your husband is the breadwinner, and then he has a mistress, or he's doing something on the side or going to lunch with someone, if you're just not having friends and cut off from the world, you're not going to find out. But when you're in community with women, someone will say, hey. So then men would be like, oh, I don't want you to have friends, or that person is your friend. I even had an ex that would try to tell me he had been intimate with my best friend because he was threatened by our friendship. And he would tell me, oh, she's not a good friend to you. These stories are really about, because if we're in an unhealthy relationship or dynamic, our friends are going to be the ones telling us, hey, this really isn't for you. And certain men don't want that. They don't want us to rise above and believe in ourselves, because then we can cater to them and to their needs. And we're seeing that even more happening now.
Yeah, I think there's two parts to that too, right?
Yes.
We're seeing it, and we're also seeing women come back together as well. Like there's been a really big movement for it. And I know just like within our world, and like there's different spaces, like when you bring women together, that comes alive, and we can really be like, hey girl, like what's going on right now, and hold them in their magic. I'm curious, like, because obviously you've done a lot of study on this and really taken, we've talked about some big topics with this.
Yes.
But like, I'm really curious from your perspective, because back in the day, we talk about like the tribal wounding and the things that like happen within that sister wound, right? When women, like before there was all the, established houses and community, like the way that what the world is now, there's stories of like tribes where the women, when they would bleed, they would go and they would move emotion together, and they would literally like break it through, like as in like they'd hold each other and they'd transmute it all together. I'm curious, like now that that's not here as prominently, what do you think like that has created within women? Because when we talk, like I know when we're in the space together and we're all breaking through our own things and really opening up on a big, big level, we feel it. We feel like, oh, I'm safe as a woman because I'm held by another woman.
Yes.
What do you think not having those spaces for women to just really be nurtured together has created not only for ourselves but for men? That's where my question was going. I just didn't get there before.
Yes. Because if we disconnect, even in our modern world, to be taken seriously in business or to work in corporate world, we lean a lot into our masculine energy.
Yeah.
So that we can, one, not be harassed at work, have unwanted advances, and that we can be taken seriously.
Yeah.
But then we have a hard time when we leave that workplace to lean into our feminine because we're taught a lot in our world that feminine energy is weak. And we want to be taken seriously. So we suppress the feminine. And men are more of a balance of feminine and masculine than women are because they have the XY chromosome, but they suppress it even more because they want to seem weak. So they'll be either hyper masculine or focus a lot on sports or join the military as soon as they're 18, everything to show this. And the more any of us in society, men and women, if we view the feminine as weak, and we suppress that and we reject it, then it doesn't feel safe to come out.
Right.
And what I will share when I work with female clients is that, you know, your man is already living in a world that has so much masculine energy everywhere. The biggest gift that you can give him is for him to see you in your aliveness as the feminine, as the goddess. And it's so powerful when you can bring that on board. But if you don't know how to connect to that because you have also viewed it as weak. You know, I was always like the tough girl and
same, babe.
Yeah. Yeah. Very much in my masculine.
Yeah.
And so when I started leaning into that, I realized one, my feminine energy and my vulnerability, those two things are my superpowers. And the more that you connect to that, you connect to your intuition, to your magic, to your other gifts, and you will also want to celebrate that within other women.
Yeah.
So one little thing that I will do with women is when I see that their intuition is right on something with me, and maybe it's something I didn't really want to share, I will let them know. You know what? That's right. Because it's like we're calibrating our GPS.
Yeah.
And we need to have spaces where we let each other know, like, hey, your gut instinct is right. Because how many times I can tell you, I've been in a relationship with a man and my intuition was on point about something. And then they were like, oh, no, you're getting gaslit in a way. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. So we start to doubt these gifts that we have. And women, we are really powerful. And when women rise up, it doesn't mean we don't respect men or we don't need men. We need one another.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to overtake in a way, but when women, the power of women and our wisdom comes forward more, that's going to create more healing for the planet and more healing for the men. Because men don't realize that these same systems have not just held back women, but it's been holding back men. And this is why we have such a challenge in relationships.
Yeah.
Because we can't show up as ourselves. But in sisterhood, we can be like, oh, yes, this is totally right.
Yeah.
And I feel that. And I've experienced this too. And that's really powerful.
Yeah, it's so interesting. The more that I've deepened into my feminine, the more I've seen Urbane come into his. And it's created more masculinity within him.
Exactly.
Like it's completely shifted the game. Now, you said something before, and this is something that I've been really big on through the journey of parenthood. And I would love to you've got more years of experience of parenthood than I do. But you said something about like not shutting down the emotions or if someone's right. Like I have a rule with Tiaraki of like, if he picks up on something within me, like just say if he comes up to me and he goes, Mommy, are you angry? Because he might feel that in my body. I'll tell him that I'm angry, but then I'll also be like, and I love you. Like not discounting or separating the two. Because I remember when I was a kid, it was like, no, I'm not angry, like, and would shut down. And so I let my whole life be like, oh my God, I feel crazy because that person looks angry, but they're telling me they're not. So can I trust my own intuition? And
exactly.
So it's like these tiny little practices where if we have that space where we can actually attune to what our intuition is saying, we open up so much more. And another one on that is when I first met Urbane, I did the same thing with him because I was starting to get these really weird hits. Like, you know, when you're in relationship with someone, you're deeply connected to them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And we lived like 2,000 miles away from each other at the time. He was in Melbourne and I was in Newcastle, Australia. And we were long distance for like 4 months. And once we decided to get like serious, I said to him, do you mind if, like, I keep getting these intuitive hits. Can I just literally ask you if that's what you're feeling at the time when I get it? And I remember one day sending him a message back because I just had this feeling like he's eating a burger right now. Like I just knew somehow. And I sent him a message being like, hey, you eating a burger right now? And he's like, this is getting fucking creepy. Stop. Like, and it wasn't from a level of like, stop being in your intuition. It was more like, how does she know that? Because when a woman's given the authenticity and the power to be with her intuition, so much more opens up. I'd love to know what are like, I guess some of the biggest things that you see blocking women from that in your world.
From connecting to their emotions?
Yeah, and from their intuition and what's alive for them.
Yeah, it's the, and men get this worse, is like from a young age, and I love that with your son, you model a healthy way to tune into emotions. That's so beautiful. But usually with boys, it's, you know, big boys don't cry, be toughen up, push through. And so they disconnect a lot from their emotions. Yeah. And women do this as well. You know, big girls don't cry, or you should be sugar and spice and everything nice. You shouldn't be angry.
Be crazy.
Yeah. All of these things. Yes. Yeah. You don't want to be crazy. And so then we're sitting here wearing these masks, trying to get approval. Yeah. And trying to feel safe in our environment. But then when we have relationships, we don't know how to connect. And especially as women, we crave an emotional relationship and connection with our partner. Yeah. And then men for decades, they've already been shutting down and disconnected from their emotions. And they're like, wait, you want me to bring my emotions online? Like, that's not even something I've explored for myself. Yeah. And the other thing is dropping into the body, because in our world, we focus on our SAT scores or sports stats or, you know, how smart we are. And we're operating like robots from the neck up. Yeah. But with Tantra, it helps you with your 5 senses drop into your body, and our body holds so much wisdom. So just for women, when you start to do these practices and you can drop into your body and see where you're blocking things, where you're blocking certain emotions, where certain fears could be happening, where shame could be holding you back. Yep. And we unlock and remove those things that are blocking you, then you are more expansive. And you're able to have emotional regulation, emotional intelligence. And when I've been a nurse for over 30 years, and I believe this year on Halloween, I'll be 57. So
can you just, for those of you watching on YouTube, just notice?
Yes.
Like this is aliveness, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And tantric orgasms are the fountain of youth for women. And for men, the way of having them when you're doing semen retention and non-ejaculatory is the fountain of youth for men, because men are shooting out a lot of life force energy whenever they're finishing. But women, we are charged up. That's why afterwards we'll be more talkative and energized, and men will quickly fall asleep.
I have a funny story on that. Obeyed literally, like whenever I was blocked creatively or I was like, I needed energy, I'd always like go and like butter him up, and I'd be like, and he'd be like, you can't use me for my life force. Like he would say that to me. And I'm like, yes, I can, come here. And so like we knew that that's what was happening. And we had a like running joke with it, but we actually see this a lot that can be super manipulative. Hey.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. But for men to be able to master that within themselves, then they're not going to feel drained afterwards. And in the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about sexual transmutation and how to, use this energy, your life force energy, to tap into your creative genius, to be very successful in your business, all of those things. And so Tantra really gives you the tools to unlock that. But I'm also a trauma-informed master coach. And when I was in my master coach program and with one of our dear friends, Preston Smiles. Yeah. One of the things that I learned was that the 3 things that support healing trauma in our modern day world is breath, sound, and movement. And the 3 tenets of Tantra for over 5,000 years is breath, sound, and movement. And I knew I'd had deep healing with Tantra, but I wasn't sure exactly why. I would say, oh, this feels like the sexual healing Marvin Gaye would sing about.
Yeah.
Even when I was having times of celibacy and
Yeah.
just doing the practices, deeply healing for our nervous system. And orgasmicness is also a beautiful way to regulate our nervous systems too.
Yeah. I love that you've brought that in because that's so much of obviously what I teach and what the show is about is like really owning our nervous system and not owning it in a way where we're controlling it, but letting the availability move through the body and those sorts of pieces. Let's talk about the other byproducts that happen to this because I have heard you like come in like Dom's in Embodied Business, just so everyone's aware.
Yes, it's been great.
And every fucking week, it's like, my client made this much money and da-da-da-da. And you were like celebrating the wins of like how your clients making. Like, I remember one of your clients, you're like, he started making nothing when he started with you. And then within the next year, he was making $400,000.
Yes.
And just little things like this. And I want to talk about that because sex and money is such a taboo subject for the get-go.
Yes.
And when we start to combine them together, most people will be like, I've just got to focus on money and I've got to hustle and I've got to do the thing. And then sex is for later when I'm not hustling. I'd love for you to share why they're connected and why you think it's so important that they continue to stay connected.
Yeah, one of the things is like one for a woman too, when you're in that state and you're feeling really juicy and you've had a lot of pleasure and yumminess and multiple climaxes, then whenever you show up to a meeting or you show up in a space, your magnetism is increased. Your auric field with the chakras and with Tantra, your aura field is wider and people are just drawn to you and they're more of a yes to you because your energy feels good and you feel safe because you have nervous system regulation, you have emotional regulation.
Yeah, one of my other mentors, she used to always say, it's like you can tell when a woman is well slept, well fed, and well fucked.
Yes.
Because her field is like here.
Exactly. It's so expansive.
Yeah.
So it's that expansion that you're able to have in holding your body. Because even like Preston will share with us too, is what coach we both had, a mentor of ours is, you know, do you have the body that can hold the bigness you want to call in? So Tantra and these tools and this ancient wisdom helps you to help with regulate your nervous system, help you build that body and with your energy system and your chakras to hold more of what you're calling in. And that helps you with manifestation. Now for men, this person, he was frequently finishing.
Yeah.
You know, watching adult videos several times a day. And I was just like, you've got to cut that out because you are depleting your life force energy.
Yeah.
You're constantly just shooting it right out your body, literally. Your body has to repair and replenish for all of that loss and the DNA. As women, we have all of our ovaries from birth.
Yep.
So we're not having to do that rebuild part in the act. We lose our energy through pregnancy, through menstruation and childbirth.
Yeah.
But this is also why women, when they get menopausal, get more energized and charged up because we're not having to go through that process. But for men, when they're frequently finishing, it's so draining for them.
Yeah.
And then the Taoist beliefs, which is very similar to Tantra, is that they believe that the reason why on average the lifespan of men is shorter than women is because of the frequency of finishing.
Right.
And that's why semen retention is so important. And the emperors in China would practice semen retention. And they wouldn't tell the common people about this because it was so empowering. And, you know, leaders aren't about empowering people.
Well, some aren't.
Most aren't. Most are, especially back in the day, you know, most weren't. And so whenever I started teaching the practices and I was initially like, hey, one, you need to stop for a few weeks.
Yeah.
His magnetism went off the charts. He's just like, women are drawn to me. They're like checking me out. I have never experienced this before because he wasn't leaking his energy all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was increasing that charisma. And then he was working at a startup. And he was doing sales, and the startup had been in business for 3 years. And he noticed at the time he was in a clubhouse room and he saw someone in that clubhouse room that was a match for the company. He took the conversation offline. He closed a $1.7 million deal. This was within the first 2 weeks of us working together. It was the biggest deal the company had closed. And it was because he was sharper. He was more focused and centered. There's this quote that says, men that are slaves to their sexual energy and their desires are weak men.
Yeah.
And men that know how to master this are focused men. They're powerful men.
Yeah. I want to talk into that actually, because, one thing that I've sort of experienced over my span of life is like the men who are also slaves to it, they also have that, and this is going to sound bad when I say this, but it's almost like a bit of it's either the real bad boy or the real good boy. There's no in between with it, right? And then what I've noticed on the receiving end of that is when that energy is up, like I have to have sex, like and put the pressure on as a woman, I would then go into caretake mode for them as opposed to be in my power and hold that. And this dynamic plays out quite a lot where like a man needs to have sex so the woman then caretakes, and then that can dilute most relationships, right?
Yes.
How often do you see this play out?
I see this a lot. And a lot of it is, you got to think 95% of adults received inadequate parenting. Most of us have a mother or father wound, and this is how we're operating in relationships.
Yeah.
So a lot of men that might have high drives, and they're having a lot of conquest and being with a lot of women. A lot of times when I'm working with them on a deeper level, I see that they have a mother wound.
Right.
And what they're really craving when they're going and watching all these adult videos, or they're, paying to be around women or wherever they may be, what they're really needing is the feminine attention and energy. Yeah. It's this wounded little boy in them that is behaving in ways of either the bad boy or the wounded little boy who is being the good, perfect little boy to get mommy's attention or love. And then that you're sensing that. And then that's when you go into the motherly role because you can see that they need this like nurturing.
Yeah.
And then they literally want to plug into women so that they're getting all of our attention.
Yeah.
And women, we can do this with men as well if we have father wounds.
Right.
So
this is where we get a lot of women who have quite sexual leaking energy where they use sex to manipulate, right?
Yeah, this is how I was before Tantra.
Yeah.
And then when I understood the power of my energy and also realized, I'm exchanging energy. SEX, sacred energy exchange. And I'm exchanging my energy with this person.
Yeah.
And I can't put on a body condom to protect myself from their negative energy.
Yeah.
So then I started thinking, okay, would I want to be like this person? Does this person inspire me? Because a lot of times when we go on a date or we're just with someone a few times and then we hook up, we're meeting the representative. So they could be road raging on the way to meet us. They could be really unhappy about something, but they're wearing a mask.
And they're putting all of that inside you.
And then the next day you can be like, why do I feel like so sad today or so angry?
Yeah.
Because you literally, especially as women, we are the receivers.
Yeah.
Yes, the receivers and the multipliers. So then they're literally dumping all of that stress. And a lot of times we will relieve stress or we're angry, upset through intercourse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Way to get it out of the body.
Yes. But then you're actually dumping all that onto or into your partner.
Yeah.
And you're not even aware of it. So when I understood that, I was like, okay, hold on.
And
that was a game changer. So I've had long periods of celibacy. A lot of times people think with Tantra that it's all about, everything in the bedroom, but it's so much deeper than that.
Yeah. I think too, like we recently seen online that young girl who slept with 1,000 men and then felt like she was having a nervous breakdown a couple of days later. Like that's literally the energy of all those men inside her, right?
Yes. And think about her nervous system.
Yeah.
Her nervous system doesn't understand fully because our subconscious mind is running the show, 95% of our brain. 5% of your logical brain is making decisions. So her 5% decided, I'm going to sign up to have this event with 1,000 men.
Yeah.
Her subconscious mind and your animal body and somatics, we have animal bodies. Your body and your nervous system is like, what is going on that we're having this with so many different people at one time? This is a danger situation.
Yeah.
This is not something that happens in natural life. Or if a woman is usually in a situation where it's multiples, especially of that magnitude, it's because most likely they're being violated. They didn't consciously choose this.
Yeah.
Right? Her ego may have chose it, but her higher self didn't choose it.
Yeah.
Her nervous system didn't choose it. So now her nervous system's overwhelmed because in that fight or flight, she may have been freezing or fawning, but her nervous system completely hijacked and dysregulated because her body is like, danger, danger, danger. Something is not right here.
Yeah. It's so big. Hey, I remember, and this is quick story time. Years ago, I'd just gotten out of a domestic violent relationship, and I was like so sick of attracting the same face on a different person. Like I was literally like, that was, yeah, I know you've
Been there, done
this
that.
as well, right?
Write
like,
a book about it, yeah.
But this was like, this obviously relationship was the climax of it because it got to that level. But I remember sitting there thinking like, why do I keep attracting these things and like these people in these events that are just not honoring me and not allowing my woman to actually feel safe and heard and seen? And I was talking with a girlfriend about it, and she was like, maybe you need to do a healing on this. And I came across this woman, one of my clients now, she's a client of mine, Lucy, actually connected me with her years ago. And she done like DNA and like ancestral healings, like through Christ consciousness. And it was, at first I was like, this is weird. Like, I don't know what this means. And and it was just like a deep meditation. But essentially what she was doing was she was clearing the energetic body from all men that had been with me and in my body. And after that, I literally noticed that I just had no space or attachment to any man that I'd been previously with. And so I had a lot of exes prior to that I couldn't get over. I still felt like they were in my field. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And when I had that experience, like, because I was still in contact with my ex that I'd had the domestic violent relationship with. The minute I woke up the next day from that experience, like it's like I must have integrated overnight, I completely blocked him from everything. I was just not available for that kind of energy anymore. And so I want to talk about this because I think this is really important, like the actual curses and the lineage, like presumptions that come on us as women and what we can accept and what we will accept from watching other people. Because I know that a lot of these men came into my space because I'd also watched my mother walk through it.
Yes.
And so I'd learnt that. And so when I actually had this healing essentially with this lady, it was like she was breaking those curses. And the next partner I was with was a bang. So it was like he got a completely fresh woman, like who
was beautiful.
Had not experienced like that energy. I'm curious, like, how much of it do you see that is not just them, like what they've experienced now?
Yeah, a lot of it is how they view relationships too, from what they saw with their parents.
Yeah.
And making similar choices, trying to heal a wound from a parent, mother or father wound by unconsciously choosing someone that operates in that same behavior. They're familiar to you, root word family. And we don't realize that we're continuing to make these choices. And we'll say when we get in this pattern, and I did this before Tantra, is the part of, oh, all men are the same or all women are the same.
Yeah.
No, you're in a thing of where you're not noticing you're choosing the same pattern. It's a different person with a different name, same stuff. And it's going to continue to show up to you until you're not an energetic match for anymore. So something about you is even calling that in, not to put the blame on you, but you need to be aware of like, okay, I need to love on this part of me and I need to get this part of myself attention.
Yeah.
So I do see this a lot. And this is one thing that I do with my clients is I will do something that's called a cord removal.
Yeah.
And it is taking, and I've had my clients be like, you feel like a shaman. I feel like I'm on the side of a mountain. This is crazy.
Yeah.
And I've done this with some people and it was really crazy. One time I did it with someone who their person that they had dated 20 years before was in the same home, and they were thinking of they were talking about working things out. And I had done this cord removal on her. She was like, I would love for you to do a cord removal on him. And her teenage daughter was at home at the time, and they went upstairs, and she always presents to her daughter is like, everything's always okay. Everything's okay. And when I was doing the cord removal with him, I thought he would talk about his exes that were really toxic. Well, he actually brought up my friend.
Right.
That was upstairs. And I was thinking, okay, well, that's not exactly what I thought we were going to be doing. But if we reframe it as, let's remove the stuff from how you both interacted 20 years ago and start from a new playing field, fine. Then if he's going there, I'll still guide him.
Yeah.
And then we went through some other people. At the same time, this person was upstairs, didn't know that that's what was happening, all of a sudden started crying. Their daughter was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to go to my room for a bit. And later, whenever she comes downstairs, he was like, oh, I did a removal on you too. And initially she was very hurt. She was like, on me? But I had told him, because he said how much love he had for her. I was like, this is a reframe of that older versions of yourself letting go. And now you can step into something new. And later she said it did help our relationship a lot because we started approaching each other from a new way. So it was interesting to be able to see in real time how someone else was sensing that removal of that cord and they could feel it, because I have not ever been able to get that feedback. Yeah. But someone else that I worked with, this person was in a narcissistic relationship and she had opened a dental practice with a partner. Yeah. And then everything happened in 2020 with our world. Yep. And that practice was closed for a little bit, but they did a $10 million contract over 10 years with this company. And the company was like, we're going to bring in all the x-ray equipment. We're going to do the staff, the charting, all that we'll be in charge of. And then you just show up and do your work. And then we're going to have this profit share, but you're obligated to 10-year commitment in the contract. Yep. While they started that practice, she realized she needed to move out from him, but they were still having to show up and work together. Yeah. And he was very toxic, super narcissistic, like traits. I don't like to say that lightly, but the way he presented, high probability. Yeah. And I would usually do her sessions with her like during her lunch break on a weekday. And I said, you know what? I think we need to do a cord removal with him, but let's do it on a weekend on a Saturday so that you have a few days to be in your own cocoon of your energy. You will have to speak to him in a professional way, but you won't talk to him anymore about past relationship stuff. Yeah. She was like, okay, fine. Did that. At 3 a.m, she's messaging me on Instagram. She's like, wow, this is like, I'm having crazy breakthroughs. This is wild. Like, and all that, I was having these dreams, and she was sharing with me what was happening. A week later, the company calls him into a meeting and says, you know what? We decided to go ahead and shut down this location because they had opened it back up and we're going to keep business as usual. We're going to shut this down. We're releasing you both from your contracts. And then when he left the meeting, they turned to her and said, we have other practices where you can do work if you want. Wow. And she since then went off to Mexico, and now she's doing coaching and yoga, and she's not even working in her profession anymore. Completely radically different person. But just shifting that's crazy. It was wild. So it's really amazing when you get the energy out from your field, and it's not to hurt the other person. It's you reclaiming your auric field and removing those energy cords that we get, especially through intimacy. Yeah. But this is the power of the quantum field, right? Like, not a lot of people are like, we hear about it a lot, like, especially in the spiritual world and in the communities that we're in. But when you actually get it, like, it's potent. It's like that you're thinking of someone, and they pick up the phone and they call. It's like all of that is the quantum. And we're so tired. And what I want to talk about this from a different lens as well, because we often hear about like the cords being super negative and like, when we're attached to someone, but it also can be super positive, right? Yes. Right? Yeah, when you have that soul connection and you're making that soulful love making with someone, it's such a beautiful connection that can transcend time. I have an amazing lover that I've been with over the years, and we live in different places in the world, but I will usually meditate in the morning. And one night I was meditating, and he messaged me out of the blue, and he was like, I can see you meditating right now. And I was able to actually hear thoughts that were in his head, like as if I could telepathy. I could hear clairaudience. I could hear what he was saying. And I did message him. This is back when we lived in the same town. And I sent him a text, and I said, hey, when I see you later today, I'm going to ask you something about right now.
Yeah.
Hold the thought you're having now because I'm going to ask you later. And sure enough, it was the very thing that I was hearing in my mind. But we have a really deep connection. And I've had, 2 lovers that I have that where we're really connected and we can like be in each other's thoughts because we've had this almost like being, love making on the quantum field, like soulful connection. If you know how to make love to someone's soul, so often people will be like, I want to find my soulmate. But if you only know how to show up in the bedroom from ego and only have shallow experiences and superficial, but then you wonder why you don't have soulful connections, why you don't have a soulmate relationship. If you can't have intimacy and eye contact and really see that person, how many times can we have nothing on in bed and be doing the wildest things? But if someone wants to eye gaze with us, which is a tantric practice for intimacy, we can feel really uncomfortable. Like, oh my gosh, don't look at me after we did all these crazy things together because we have a fear of truly being seen because we're taught so much to guard ourselves and wear masks to be get the approval of everyone. And we feel like if someone really sees us, they're going to reject us.
Yeah, I love what you said there as well about the soulmate piece. And I remember when I first met Urbane, I was sitting there and someone's like to me, aren't you worried? Like you barely know this guy. You've committed to him and he's like in a completely different state. And obviously that was their stuff. And I was just like, there's not a doubt in my mind. Like there was not one part of me that felt insecure. And I'd come from super anxious attachment styles. I mean, if you could have a crazy girl, I was fucking it.
Been there.
Yeah. And so I remember with my ex, I would be like, the minute I was away from him, I was calling him 50 times a day. What are you doing? Da, 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 da. I was so had to know for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Urbane, it was like, we'll just talk at night. Or once your day's done, let's connect and see what's alive and da, da, da. And for me, I believe that was that. Because there was so much intimacy and connection that was built, it allowed me to be like, I know where he's at energetically, so I feel safe.
Yes.
And so that still rings true for us now. There's no part of me that goes, yeah, he's not the one. Because I'm like, the more that I connect in with him, the more intimacy we have, that just gets fucking stronger and stronger.
The deeper bond.
Yeah.
Then that's what Tantra helps you with is soul mating.
Yeah.
And so even one of the other things that helps with manifestation is something called sex magic within Tantra.
We've played it. It's fun.
Yes. So even though during the session, whenever I was guiding both of you and, fully clothed, safe, very safe space, and I did this through Zoom.
Yeah.
And guided you, then set you up to go into that.
Yeah.
Because in that, with sex magic and with intention, you can manifest more powerfully and faster.
Well, look, we talked about the house.
Exactly.
There were other things I called in that have come into
it's wild because you can do this with a partner and you can do this with yourself. But if you're with a partner that's in alignment, you can amplify these things together. Someone that holds that vision
the same thing
with you.
Yeah.
And so I was setting everything up for you to go in and to have that juiciness and really be this antenna lit up through pleasure and through deep connection.
That whole session when you were like, take a gummy so you're super relaxed. And I was not expecting how relaxed I would be through that whole thing. But it was such a beautiful experience because I was so available for it.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. And I did talk to a client after this and after you shared that you had gotten the house.
Yeah.
And I was sharing how fast you had manifested that. And I was letting him know, I said, but the thing too is sometimes when I manifested things, I manifested something within a couple of weeks, 48 hours.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I manifested working with Preston, but it took 3 years. I had claimed it on an Instagram post and something that I wrote to him and I completely forgot. Yeah. But he wasn't coaching coaches then.
Yeah.
And then when I was in the container with him 3 years later, Facebook was like, 3 years ago today, you posted this. And it was something I had written with Preston. I had screenshot and done a post.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I would have never known because sometimes we have to wait for the cooperative components to line up to also be a yes for what we're wanting.
Can we talk into that, the cooperative components? Because we hear a lot of this, especially with Abraham Hicks. And I love her work.
She's me too.
Amazing. But I'd really love to talk about the cooperative components. I can't say that word without sounding
Say it
like
5 times fast.
fucking But like, what does that mean? Because we hear it so much and it's like, we think we know what it means. Like, I know what it means now, but I'd love for you to explain.
But even on this example, like, it was a post where Preston was saying, and I'd followed him and his wife for years, but they didn't know who I was. They had so many people following them.
Yeah.
But he was like, what would be a passion? Like, what is your dream? And I put my dream about working with people and helping humanity.
Yeah.
And then I screenshot his question with my answer.
Right.
At the time, he was not coaching coaches on being successful coaches.
Yeah.
It wasn't until 3 years later.
Yeah.
And then one day I woke up and the word kaboom popped in my head. And I was like, that is so weird because that word is not in my lexicon. This is random. I don't know where this came from.
Yeah.
And then later that day, I opened my phone and on Facebook, Preston pops up and he says,
kaboom.
yeah, he says, I'm launching something. I'm tired of seeing coaches get taken advantage of. And people that are entrepreneurs or have businesses think they can coach coaches, but it's a different business model.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be my first cohort and it's called Kaboom. I was like, yes, I'm definitely in for this.
Yeah.
And this is back when he was doing his own calls.
Yeah.
And I had a call.
Came into the world. Yeah.
And I had a call scheduled with him, but I messaged him. I said, if I can put a down payment, is that okay if I do a payment plan? He was like, yes. I was like, all right, I don't even need to have the call with you. I know that I'm in.
Yeah.
So for me, the cooperative component was like, when I first sent him that message, he was not available to be coaching coaches.
Yeah.
That wasn't him, but it was like he had to do his parts of things to fall into place to be at the point in time where I was. But then when it was the timing was right, it merged.
Right, yeah.
So
Divine
it also is
timing.
Yeah. So it all works out if we just trust the journey and just know. And also with manifesting, I want this or something better. Because sometimes we limit ourselves. We think we want this thing, but the universe is like, or higher self is like, no, there's something more possible, even better, something possible. Don't limit yourself with what can happen.
Yeah. And I love this. Some of the conversations that we've had over the time, we've known each other for what, 5 years now?
Yes.
It's been a while.
Yes.
But it's like I feel like the manifestation is just the next step. Like every time we want something, it's like, that's just the next thing. Like I know as soon as I get that, there's going to be something more that comes through me that I desire.
Because we're creators, that's part of the magic of who we are. Now, the other part of the cooperative components, which is something where I was sharing about you with my client.
Yeah.
I said, one thing also that helps speed up this process for Case is the fact that she already does some somatics.
Yeah.
She already meditates. Mm-hmm. She does body work. She does nervous system regulation. She's aware of where her blocks are, her unconscious blocks. She's done that work. Mm. So now when we add in this other piece, it is able to take off even faster.
It's because there's availability in the body as well, right?
And not having the doubt or where we're blocking ourselves or deep down we don't think that we can do it or those things. I go, that was not like in the way of like blocking that ability.
Yeah, it's funny you say that actually. I was having this conversation yesterday in a mastermind that I'm in, and I was talking about how, there is so much wealth that is in my world now. And like, where I started, you watched my journey. Like I started from a struggle street, and now sitting here, I was sharing a win and I felt so nervous sharing it because it was like, oh my God, who am I to share this? And then I had the women reflect back to me being like, it's so inspiring. You show what's possible and all of this sort of stuff. And I was just sitting there and I was just like, oh, I've now become that person that shows what's possible.
Yes.
But it didn't come from just like going, I'm going to keep hustling. I had to literally go within so fucking deeply. And it's everything that you're talking about with these tantric practices, right? Mm-hmm. It's like everything that I've ever done that's related to Tantra, great sex has been a byproduct of it. Amazing sex, mind-blowing, life-altering, fucking all the things. And it wasn't that got me to that great sex. It was a connection with myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to actually talk into you a little bit more because so many people know your skill set. They know what you're great at and how you help people. But the thing that I love about you the most is you're so fucking sassy. like so sassy, like one of the sassiest people I know, but you're so soft. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and there's this real gentleness that comes with you. And it's like a safety that's like, it's almost like, I wouldn't even call it a motherly energy because it's like a sister. I got you. Like,
Yes.
what did it take for you to come to that place within yourself? Because that's a real fine art to be able to hold that within yourself.
Thank you. I think initially, I've been a nurse since I was 19.
Yeah.
So I think initially I started leaning into trying to create safe spaces for people.
Yeah.
Because when someone's in a hospital, it's the scariest point in their life. Like you might be hospitalized, if at all, but once or twice your lifetime, and it's a really big moment.
Yeah.
So even though as in the medical field, we may have hundreds of patients that are going through this and it's a day-to-day thing, and remembering this is a really big disruption for this person's life and super scary and stressful. How can I create safety and help them feel safer in this moment?
Yeah.
And so that's where it like started. And even looking at my patients like holistically, not just your diagnosis, but all of the things that come into play.
Yeah.
Which then also brought me into being a Tantra coach, because I used to even help with open heart surgeries. I was always fascinated with the heart. And then I was like, wow, Tantra has the tools to open people's hearts. This is where it's at.
Yeah.
And we're not taught that. So then I was like, I want to meet people before they're in the hospital. Because a lot of illness and everything is nervous system regulation, our fears, our wounds that haven't been addressed. And I would see patients with all these like 20 illnesses and diagnoses, and then they would also have something with PTSD or alcohol abuse or domestic abuse. And I was like, we're not addressing those things.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me meet people before. So then I always wanted to create this safety with my patients. And then I've do that with my coaching. But then when I started with Tantra and regulating my nervous system, and I became safer to myself and I trusted myself even more deeply, then I was able to hold other people. And especially when I work with couples, one misconception about Tantra is people will think, oh, well, if my man is working with a Tantra coach, something is going on.
Yeah.
That is unprofessional. That is a boundary I will not cross.
Yeah.
I'm never intimate with my clients.
Yeah.
I will guide them and tell them tips and techniques that they can do with one another.
Yeah.
Or a yoni massage or lingam massage or whatever, so they can have a good time together, and I will guide them, but I'm never engaging that. But also for women, I think there needs to be more safety to know that I'm honoring the union of both of you. And so that the woman can relax, because women, if we're not safe in our nervous systems and we can't relax and we're feeling like there could be danger or a threat, we're not going to be in our most orgasmicness either.
Yeah.
Those things are not going to be online at the same time.
Yeah.
And when we're overthinking and we're worried, we're underfeeling.
Yeah.
So I really want you to feel safe and relaxed and know you're held in a safe space, and that you can just let it go and connect to what's deepest in your heart, what your deepest desire is, what's the wisdom of your body.
Yeah.
And really start to tune into that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, though, like to even have that wisdom and that awareness, it shows the level of work that you've done for yourself. Because I know you've been through it.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
I had a wild ride.
Yeah. And I think this is something like when we talk about embodied businesses, right, from a overarching context, I believe that people who choose to follow a passion like this, it's because they know the other side of it. They know what it's like to not live this. They know what it's like to be completely disconnected from it. If there was something that you could go back to, and I'm just going to bloat your story a little bit because you have shared it on the podcast before. We've got a previous episode for those of you who want to hear more of Dom's story. But if we were to go back to the young girl who was an early mother in a domestic violent relationship and didn't know herself, because this is going to be a lot of women who are listening to this right now. Like, what would be the thing that you tell her that you wish she knew back then?
To tear up. To focus more on yourself.
Yeah.
To stop. I think there's a big thing right now is like decentering men.
Yeah.
because my mom was so boy crazy. And my mom always put men and chasing men and being, intimate with men as like the biggest priority.
Yeah.
And I fell into that of like trying to do all the things externally so that pick me energy of like, I need to be the sexiest. And I did art modeling and burlesque. And I did all of these things of like always showing how beautiful I am, because that's like the highest value point my mom would talk about. Anytime I would date someone, she would not ask like, is he a kind soul?
Yeah.
How does he treat you or make you feel? It was like, how good looking is he?
Really?
And then if he didn't have looks, well, then does he have money in the bank?
Yeah.
And then is he good in bed? Always make sure they're good in bed.
Yeah.
And so like one of the main things that I think about a lot too is my mom would say, because my mom was born in 1933. She had me later in life. And she said, don't get married before you've been intimate with a person, because you don't want to commit to marriage with someone who's not good in bed.
Mm.
And she would tell me that I was a teenager. She's like, oh, and it's great when you're ready. Let me know. Your grandparents love it. I love it. Your dad loves it. I'll put you on the pill whenever you're ready. And it actually made me take a step back. I was like, whoa, okay, hold on.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize until I look when you connect the dots going back that subconsciously what that had me do, what I wasn't aware of, the message that my subconscious got was when I started dating someone with that in mind, I thought, well, I need to find out sooner than later if they're good in bed, because if they're not, I'm not going to marry them. So let's just like go with that.
Yeah. And you let that be the leading edge. Right.
And then I would lead with my sexuality.
Yep.
And then you don't really get to know someone when you start having those release of oxytocin and bonding hormones. I haven't taken the time to really know, is this someone I should even be in bed with?
Yeah. It's so powerful that you share that. Thank you for sharing that, by the way, because I think so many women, they may not have had the same upbringing, but society still teaches them that.
Yes.
And they're still operating from that. I know I did. It was like, if I give him sex, then he'll love me. So it was the same thing I was doing, but I was doing it from a different lens. And it's like, it's so big, because this trauma is also what's disconnecting us from ourselves as women.
Yeah, because the focus begins even from early childhood with these stories.
Yeah.
Of, because you think, Cinderella looked plain, but then she had the magical ball, but then he didn't recognize her the next day. Like, seriously? You know what I'm saying? Or we have Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And she's actually being held hostage.
Yeah.
And her love is going to turn him. And when she loves him, then he's going to turn into the prince. So we start thinking from a young age, like, oh, my love or my beauty and these things external are going to change this person.
It's funny that you say that too. Like, and that I've known this my whole life, but I feel like I'm just piecing some pieces together, right?
Yes.
Like, how many partnerships have I personally been in where I'm like, try to change them?
Oh, yeah. I've done it way too many times.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I love that you've used the context of that, because for me, in my innocent mind, it's always like, oh, I just love Disney because it's like, it's so beautiful, the stories, it feels really yummy.
Yeah.
But then when you think about the subconscious of it, like, it's really different. Like, I feel like for me personally, I just want to talk into this topic for a moment because it's so important for our children to know this. Like, I feel like Moana is probably the only kids movie recently that I've seen that has a different undertone.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah. Have you seen it?
I have not seen that one. Okay, so it's good to know.
Let me give you what I see in it and you can watch it and report back. But essentially, Moana tells a story of like what happens when a woman, and this is the overarching view, what happens when a man steals a woman's heart for his own personal gain.
Oh, that's powerful because this happens a lot.
It happens a lot. And it's like she becomes bitter, cruel, fiery demon essentially is portrayed in the movie. Mm-hmm. And then Moana pieces it together that it's not a demon, it's actually a woman that had her heart stolen. And so she gives her back the heart and she turns into this beautiful goddess, right? And so it's like, for me, I personally love it because it's like, it's such a what happens in society, right? It's like, and when we as women see another woman and we're like, hold on, he just fucking took your heart. Let me hand that back to you.
Yes.
Right? Like something so beautiful happens in an environment. And this comes back to what we're talking about, sister wounds and how we get to be held as women. And I'm excited for you to watch it now because you're going to see what I'm talking about.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
It took me years to get that's what was actually playing out, by the way. My son watched Moana every day when he was like from the age of like 18 months to like 2. And I would be like, for some reason, my body just felt okay with him watching that. And one day I sat down, I'm like, what's the actual undertone here? It's like, oh, that's who a woman becomes when her heart is stolen. It's like,
Wow.
So who do we as women get to be to reclaim that?
Exactly.
To really hold that.
It's so important. And that's what I love about Tantra is Pink Tantra focuses on self-loving your heart chakra. Right. And so many of us, men and women, we have these walls around this armor around our hearts because either from mother-father wound or from a past relationship that was traumatic.
Yeah.
And we put these walls up and we feel like these walls are protecting us and keeping the bad things out, but it's more holding us back than a protection.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow a lot of things in. And with Tantra, that's where I was able to open up that heart space. And I started living more from a place of love instead of fear and really being more in my woman and in my feminine energy.
Yeah. Just touch on that real quickly for me. Because you said Pink Tantra. I've heard of this a little bit. You've mentioned it in some stuff that we've talked about, but there's different colors and there's different areas, like different flavors.
Yes.
What do the colors mean essentially?
Great question. White Tantra is focusing more on your chakras, meditation, mantras, mandalas.
Yeah.
Pink Tantra's, again, the self-love. And then red Tantra is more intimacy, self-pleasure. And then and these are neo forms of Tantra, that's based on the old lineages, but we add modern twists to it.
Yeah.
So a neo form of Tantra is Black Tantra.
Yep.
Infuses elements of BDSM kink into Tantra practices because it's energetic.
The black magic comes from?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think
All
so.
right. Yeah.
So just like different levels, and I have an online course that goes through all those little phases so that you have all those tools to work through. But it's really beautiful. And each of those different things can also unlock different chakras. Like your sacral chakra has to do with your creative energy, your creativity, but also is connected to your reproductive organs, your arousal, your sensuality, your sexual expression. And a lot of us are shut down from that because of shame or whatever, especially women, we can shut that down. But that's really our position of power.
Yeah.
Like so much, that's our creation. And if we disconnect from that, or it's like we're disconnecting from our source.
Yeah.
But, good girls aren't supposed to do that. And you don't need to be fully in your woman and alive in your sensuality. And your sensual expression is just to be something enjoyed by men. It's not something to power you up. So you need to just do it in these ways for it to be acceptable. Otherwise, it makes people uncomfortable. And so we have to really pay attention to that. And then when we're talking about movies, I also want to share a little bit too about The Wizard of Oz. It really got me recently is how Dorothy is a small girl on her journey to try to solve her problem. And along the way, she keeps having to help adult men figure out their stuff.
Yeah.
We are really being conditioned as girls and as women that we caretake for the men.
Yeah.
And we put ourselves second.
Yeah.
And equality is about, we should all be putting ourselves first and honoring ourselves first.
Yeah.
And not trying to, empowerment comes from being in your personal power without having to disempower someone else.
Yeah. I seen a quote recently, and I think this goes two ways. And it was like, women think that to get him to love me, I have to do more for him. But the truth is, the more I do for me and the more I love me, the more he loves me. And I think that goes also the opposite way as well.
Facts.
Right? Yeah. And like, I've really seen that in my relationship. Like the first couple of years after having Tiariki, I went into like, everything's for the family. I got to do everything for everyone else. And I put on a heap of weight. I felt really like not alive. And so this last like 18 months, I've been really reclaiming myself. And through that reclamation, losing some weight, I'm still on that journey, but all the things that came with that, it's like, the minute I started, boom, he proposed. Like all these things started unfolding because it was like I chose myself. So he was like, oh, now I can choose you.
Yeah, because it all starts, it's all, the inside job.
Yeah.
If you don't love yourself enough and you don't prioritize yourself, how is someone else going to find you worthy of that?
So true.
And that's why the self-love piece is so important.
Yeah.
But so many people will be like, oh, I'll do Tantra after I have a relationship.
Or I'll do it to manipulate someone else and use the magic of it.
Yes. Yeah. So if couples want to come and work with me and I know that I can sense or one of them shares that there's some unhealthy dynamics in the relationship that could be like a domestic violence or something unhealthy, I won't do a Tantra couple session with them because I don't want to strengthen that bond because Tantra creates soulmate relationships.
Yeah.
So we don't want to strengthen the bond between the two of you if there's not a healthy connection there.
So it's like clean up the connection first, see what's alive, and then go from there.
Yeah, but we show people how to treat us by the way we treat ourselves. So if we don't feel worthy of being good for ourselves, and so many people that will come and work with me, I'm a recovering people pleaser. Why did I want to learn how to be the best person in the bedroom? Because I'm a people pleaser. So I had this light bulb moment just a couple of years ago after being in this profession for a while, this being my career choice. I was like, oh, light bulb moment. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so good at being a people pleaser that I made it to a professional level.
So good.
What is going on here? So it's crazy. But so I will also attract a lot of people pleasers because they also have that same desire to be the best lover because they're trying to be the best at everything.
Yeah.
But then they won't want to do the things for themselves. They won't want to do their self-pleasure rituals. They just are only motivated to do pleasure when it's in service of the other. And I'm like, do you understand why she is rejecting you and turning you down? Because you don't even desire you. You don't even feel worthy of having pleasure and vice versa. Yeah. So they're not going to be turned on by you because you're not turned on by you.
100%. And I want to talk into that too as well, like from a bit of a different lens as well. The one thing that I see with a lot of people-pleasing tendencies and things like that is like when – especially women, because we're like, well, I'm going to take over the breadwinner and I'm going to do all this and I'm going to control because it's my way of being safe. But they do it with this tone of people pleaser that comes through. It's like, I'll make sure it's so easy. And I did this with a babe personally. It's like, I'll make sure that he gets everything that he wants so he never leaves me. So I'll do fucking everything. I'll earn the money. I'll be the best mom. And that was the start of me really accessing this whole piece for myself. And the thing that's under that, for me that was under that, was an energy of entitlement of like, well, he's the masculine, he has to provide. So I'll do this so then he will be willing to step up, right? But it just didn't work. Nothing worked until it was like, I actually go, hold on, what the fuck do I want? Like, what's my soul calling for?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's so important. And that's what I would do from the space too, if I was wanting to be really great in bed because it's a safety strategy.
Yeah. 100%.
If I'm have a degree, I'm a nurse, I'm saving lives, I'm doing missionary work and humanitarian work as a nurse, and I'm good in bed and I can be funny and I can be attractive, and I was doing modeling and everything was like always making sure everything was just so.
On the outside, everything
On the outside,
perfect.
everything looked good, but man, inside, it was a mess.
We see this so much actually in the coaching industry too. Like, let's just label that. It's like trying to hold themselves, but this is like the missing piece.
Yeah. It's because it's our, our outer world's a reflection of our inner world. And we think but we've been conditioned to think if we, have the house, the car, the kids, the wife, whatever, that we're going to be happy. And that's where people end up being unhappy because they're just like, wait, I did all those things and I still feel unfulfilled because you haven't done the inner work to really know who you are and what you desire. You've just been doing the things that society has convinced you should make you happy instead of being in your truth.
There's a beautiful example of this. I had Alexia on the podcast and it was released just last week or something. And she was talking about how she had fame from such a young age and she got the insider scoop of like, it's not there. Like, she found that the hard way. And I know that you've had a world where there's been fame and there's been a lot of things where you've been around celebrities and lived in Hollywood and done all those sorts of things as well. And I personally love that there's so much depth that goes behind what you do that
Thank you.
It's not even like it's not even a topic of conversation of just how far you've gone with it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really wild. You know, I've dated celebrities. I have clients now that are celebrities, and you'll see behind the facade that everything isn't always the illusion that, because we're always wearing masks. We're always trying to present an illusion of something. And I just feel like, okay, I don't sense that you've really done the work to do these things. And I've had people that I've dated, 10 years ago, try to come back into my life and be interested in being with me. And I'm just like, I would just have to sit down and reintroduce myself to you. I don't think you know who I am anymore because you met the illusion that I was presenting. There were pieces of me that were there, but I wasn't in my full truth and my fullest expression.
Yeah.
And now I'm in such a different space. Like I would literally have to reintroduce you to me. And I don't know that now I would be interested because I've done a lot of inner work to heal a lot of that. And I don't want someone that's not self-aware to just continue to unknowingly hit my triggers or do these
same
unhealthy relationship patterns that most of society does and plays out. I'm just not interested in that.
Yeah. And it's so it's interesting that you say that, right? It's like, I know my growth game is strong too. Like if you haven't seen me within like a couple of months time, every time I see you, it's like, hello, I'm Casey again. Nice to meet you. Right.
This is the new level.
Yeah. But it's like so many people have this idea of who we are. And when you start to play in this world of like, let me look at myself, it's like evolution after evolution after evolution. And we see that in the physical surroundings and who we are as a woman and all of those pieces. And so for the people who feel this and struggle on an identity level with it of like, how do I actually embrace my full power now that I know I'm a different woman? Because when we go back into some old environments, what most people do is like they know they're powerful, but they shrink back down to the old person that they once were.
Yeah.
Right.
To make other people comfortable.
Yeah. What would you say to that person instead?
Just shine your light. You know, the sun doesn't apologize for being bright. If you can't handle it, put some shades on. And people will try to throw shade at you whenever you're shining so brightly. But we need to be, and that's what Tantra helps you, lighting up your chakras. Like a lot of it even is about Christ consciousness. I feel like Jesus was actually someone who had his chakras on and popping.
Yeah.
And then the crown chakra is activated. And that's why you see the light above his head. I feel like he was into his full power as an individual. And so these are the tools that really help to do that. But yeah, there's this piece of, if we keep dimming our light to fit into society, to make other people comfortable, we need to think of ourselves as like being these beacons. And when we shine our light or let our freak flag fly, we are helping other people find their way back home.
Yeah.
So we have to shine. And also when you shine unapologetically, you give other people permission to do that. So a lot of times when I work with clients, it's like, what areas are you holding back in life? And how would you really like to show up in your authenticity? Because authenticity is the highest vibration.
Yeah.
And you're going to magnetize. Like if you want higher vibration experiences and manifest higher vibration things, you have to be a vibrational match for that thing. You need to change your frequency and your set point. And that's what Tantra helps you to do. That's why you can manifest more powerfully with it.
Let's talk onto that for a moment, because so many people think that in order to manifest the things that we want, we have to be high vibe, right? But high vibe can also be a mask.
Yes.
Right? Authenticity is different. Like right now we're quite grounded, like neutral, like feeling the energy. And like, what do you believe authenticity is, truthfully?
I think it's really connecting to your inner child, your playful self before the trauma and everything, like your 4 or 5 year old self when you were young and you could just go have fun and splash in puddles and be silly and not worrying what people were thinking about you. And you were just so carefree and you would run through the backyard. And you could use your imagination and just color and just be in your fullest expression and dance like nobody is watching, and it had to be choreographed and look a certain way.
Yeah.
And just that freedom to really be yourself. So who are you without putting all the masks on? And who are you without trying to be what you think other people want you to be?
Yeah.
And if they're and know that not everyone is always going to like you, and that's okay. But we get this programming from a early age of, be nice and be good. And we don't want other people to think this of that. You're making me look bad. Like when your parents are like, you're not behaving right and you're making me look bad.
Yeah.
Or then we get shamed a lot, even in school, if we are being I'm very talkative, if we're doing other things. I can't tell you how many report cards I got notes of like, she's very talkative.
Same.
And
thanks, by the way.
Yeah.
Because
and that was
I'm
my
not
gift.
Getting paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that one of the things, I'm really comfortable with podcasts, but I'm not as comfortable with public speaking. And I think I had heard something like, were you told a lot as a child to be quiet?
Yeah, it's funny you say this actually. Urbane, he has a powerful singing voice. He's an incredible singer. And when he speaks, people stop and they listen. And I was always like, why can't he speak in front of people? Like now he's worked through it a lot and he's done a lot of work and he can.
Yes.
But like when we first got together, I was like, why does he shut down in front of people? He's so fucking powerful, this guy. Anyway, I was sitting there with his mum one day and she was telling me about how when he was in school, he used to sing a lot as a kid. Like when he was working, he'd just hum and he'd just be like, and the teacher would send him out of the classroom for it. And I'm like, in that moment, that teacher broke that little boy's spirit.
Yes.
Right. And so it's like you see it as an adult, how it shows up. And like I see my son now, he just sits and sings and he's so loud. Like, Preston took him out to do something one day. They had a little, I don't even know what they did, but he was with him by himself. And he's come back and he's like, man, your son sings so much. And I was like, yeah, he's so expressive. He goes, I love it. Like just because it's not been shut down. It's like, I wonder what the world could look like if we didn't shut it down.
If we didn't have those things shut down. And in schools too, teachers will shame kids to get you to behave. I'll put you in the corner. Don't make me send you to the principal's office. Like shame, and you're going to embarrass me in front of the peers. So we do all these things where we start playing smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So that we're not upsetting other people. You have this one lifetime. You came into this body for this lifetime. You better enjoy it.
Yeah.
And one thing I would see when I would take care of patients, and sometimes I would be helping them towards the end of their life whenever things weren't going to work out so good, and in those moments. And that's what was heartbreaking for me, because I was like, I wish I could meet people on an earlier point in their timeline before they're in the hospital, before maybe it's too late.
Yeah.
But I had a patient that had a bunch of fears that had held them back in life. And then she also wouldn't, was really worried about what friends or what other people would say.
Yep.
And then in those last moments when she's in critical care in ICU and I'm caring for her and giving her compassion and grace through that process, none of those people that she was worried about when she was younger were showing up to the hospital to hold her hand or be there for her. They are on with their lives.
Mic drop moment if there ever is one. Yeah.
They have moved on with their lives. They're not thinking about you, but you made your life in such a way and you mastered it out to make everyone be comfortable with you that now your life is not comfortable for you.
Yeah.
And not everyone is supposed to like you. That's an impossible task. When you start knowing, do I like me?
Yeah.
Do I like me? Deep down.
Well, that's one of the 4 predictors in a powerful long-term relationship, right? For the other person, let alone a relationship that you spend your whole fucking life with by yourself.
Exactly. You are your longest lasting relationship from your first breath to your last.
Yeah.
So be good to yourself and have a good relationship. And, I love the quote by Dr. Seuss, those that matter don't mind and those that mind don't matter. Because the people that really get you, they're going to love to see you and like doing your weird, silly things or whatever. And they'll be like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And those that mind, it's more about them because they're jealous or upset with themselves that they won't give themselves permission to show up that way.
Yeah.
Or that they are stuck wearing their masks. And then like, you can't like drop your mask and be who you really are because like, that's not how we do this because I'm holding up my mask here and projecting this other part of me that I really don't even like, but they're not aware of it. So just know, even I think too, like I don't have haters. There may be people that I come across like my social media or my content, but when they're saying negative things to me, they're hating on themselves.
100%.
And it's their dissatisfaction with themselves. I went on this walk and I had done this microdose and we're noticing these beautiful berries on the hiking trail and all this. And I was thinking about, oh my gosh, thinking about berries and squeezing the juice. I was like, people, we're like that.
Yeah.
Whenever we're under pressure and we're squeezed, like whatever is on the inside is what's going to come out.
Yeah.
So is on the inside, are we bitter, right? Or is there sweetness to us, just like a fruit? Are we sour? Imagine biting into a lemon or having a juicy cherry or berry.
Well, you see this with women when not just women, but men, but when you do the embodiment work, like at first, when you first start that and you start releasing it, it's messy.
Oh, for sure.
It's so messy. But then when you start to squeeze and the beautifulness comes out, beautifulness, is that a word?
Yes,
but
it is now.
It is now. But it's like when you watch a woman really vulnerably open up and it's from her real truth. Oh my God, it is so beautiful. I watched one woman in a retreat that I was in once, and she just had this heartache that was in her heart and she released it. And it brought me to tears because it wasn't directed at anyone. It wasn't like, there was nothing but purity behind her just releasing it. I don't know how to put it into words, but it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And it's like, when you see that, it's so potent. Yeah.
And also, I do want to circle back to what you said, my younger self. I think my younger self would be focus on who you really are and your authenticity, because until you really know who you are and what you're about, you're not going to be able to choose a partner to do life with you.
Amen.
And sometimes we're not always meant to always have a partner forever. Yeah. That's not everyone's path. But there's so many times that as women, when times I'd be single, people would be like, you're single? How are you single? You're such a catch. Like you XYZ. Doesn't make sense that you're single.
People would ask me if I was a lesbian because I couldn't keep a man. And I'm like, keep a man? Like what is even in that line? Keep a man.
And that's what we think as women. We're always spinning our wheels and doing all these things and getting plastic surgery. I used to work with a plastic surgeon for 6 years, and the only thing I had done was this to balance out my hourglass shape.
Yeah.
But even now, I'm just like, now who I am now, I wouldn't choose this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm still grateful for that part of me that felt I needed it, and it did open doors for me. It did have me do things I wouldn't have done.
Yeah.
Because I had this new confidence with it. But now I know that I have enough confidence that I don't need this.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just knowing like who we really are and stop being so performative to be chosen by men, because a lot of men haven't done their work to heal their wounds. A lot of women haven't either. When you think 95% of adults received inadequate parenting, a lot of us have some types of trauma. And if they haven't had coaching or therapy, they're not self-aware, they haven't healed those parts of themselves, they're not going to be able to have a healthy relationship with you if they're not healthy within their relationship with yourself. And we can't fix them.
I would even go as far to say if they're not continuously in the work.
Yes.
Because, Ebe and I have been together for nearly 6 years. And in that entire time, it has been, all right, we're back in on this spot. Okay, deeper layer. Like we're in the work all the time. And all of my mentors that I know, like every single person I know, they're like, yeah, I constantly have someone who is my fucking safeguard for a relationship because my shit's constantly popping off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, relationships can be deeply healing and very beautiful in a mirror, but they will show us where our work needs to be.
They're the spiritual playground.
Yes, most definitely. And I've put a lot of time and attention into relationships. I was very boy crazy. I've had a lot of lovers, a lot of experiences. And now I've just really been focusing. I did a lot of healing. And when I became a trauma-informed master coach and really being like, okay, what is this relationship I want to have with myself?
Yeah. It's so
and really taking that time for that and really not worrying about, am I in relationship with someone else? And it's such a different thing for my daughters to see me in, and they're adults. I had them at a very young age. And I think they get a little concerned. I'm just like, no. I was like, I've had enough relationships for a lifetime, okay? Like, we know. Yeah. Like, but right now, it's like more I would rather create, when I think of if I want to go travel somewhere, I don't think about I would want a romantic partner to go travel with. I'm thinking I want to be able to take my adult daughters with us and us to create some memories together because I wasn't as present for them as I should have been because I was so much always thinking that I needed to have a man. And I wasted a lot of energy sometimes with that instead of being like, you know, stop trying to make this thing happen and tolerating stuff you shouldn't tolerate and leaking your power away. Because one thing I will say, a lot of times when you are a very strong, powerful woman, men will be drawn to that, and then they will try to take that power. It's like plucking the jewels from your crown, and then they feel powerful. They're like, I can't embody that but you do. That was several of my exes. And then trying to make me, once then I'm in relationship with them and I'm bonding with them, then try to bring me down. And that somehow made them feel good. And if you think about, there's a lot of mother wound. So then it can have men not really trust the feminine, or their mother was hurtful to them. So then even subconsciously they're trying to hurt women because they haven't healed that part of themselves. We've really got to look at our stuff.
Yeah. It's so, I could talk to you about this for hours.
But in life keeps lifing. And then whenever you do the growth and you're doing the work, you realize different things of yourself. Like I'll have like a new awareness and I'll be like, oh, wow, that's so curious. I didn't see how that was showing up for me.
It doesn't stop. Like I love when people are like, when I get here, I'll be done. It's like, no, bitch.
No, I mean, it'll be done when you take your last breath.
Yeah.
And then you'll take, I believe in reincarnation. Then you can take that wisdom into other lifetimes. But it's always going to be, because life is going to keep showing up and you're going to continue to have challenges. Yeah. And do you want to continue to have tools and sharpen your tools, sharpen your sword to meet those challenges and continue to grow? Or do you want it to be painful and just continue to repeat old patterns and not have tools or people that can see your blind spots to say, hey, this is where I can see? Because sometimes it takes someone from the outside looking in to be able to see that. And so that's why I've loved like working with you too, because it takes that other person, because sometimes we can't see, or we can fool ourselves.
100%. And I think that's the beautiful thing about us working together is like, you know, we grew up as peers, I would say that. Yes. But it's like, you're like, I need someone on my level who can actually hold me in that. It's like, you know, and I think a lot of people, they look at it as like, I've got to have someone who's like there or out there or someone totally different. But when we have someone who deeply fucking knows us and can see the patterns, so much happens when it's someone who's also unbiased. So
yes,
so cool.
So helpful.
So cool. So my favorite question is, if this were the last time anyone were to ever hear you speak, and the thing that you said like just reverberated in their ear, and it was the thing that stayed with them about you, what would you want them to hear?
Deeply loving yourself and letting go of shame around pleasure will be the most empowering thing you ever do for yourself. And stop waiting to find a lover or someone else to do those things for you that you're unwilling to do for yourself. Because you're just going to find someone who also is incapable of doing it until you do it. You have to unlock it within you first. Then everything else follows.
Amen. And I also want to add that that's not just getting your nails and your hair done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not the the superficial external things that can make us feel good. But sometimes it's the hard things that we need to do for ourselves that can be so loving.
So true. Thank you so much for being here and like
pleasure
diving deep with me. How do people find you? I know you've got some real cool things coming up. So if they're on your email list, they're definitely going to get first dibs on that. But how do they get to that? How do they find you? Where do they get the magic?
My website, yestantra.com, YESTANTRA. And I have some quizzes there on intimacy and Tantra, some free quizzes, and on chakras that you can check out. And that's the best way to find me. And then I have YouTube, and I'm going to be having a podcast soon. And I'm pivoting. I've been working with men, women, singles, and couples for almost a decade now. It's been really powerful. And now I'm focusing even more on supporting women and giving the wisdom of being an older woman of what I wish my younger self would have known, that I could have saved myself a lot of heartache. And I think in the healing of women is also going to be the healing of men. I want to work with women and the men who really love women and want to, be the kings and queens, like be in their divine masculine and feminine energy and be that embodiment of love and bliss.
So good. Yeah. Testimony here. It works. I love your work. I love you. Thank you. I love you too. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting me.
So welcome.
Embodied Business.